If you can confirm the voice and mainly the voice, image so we can see in TV, but mainly the voice. Good morning, बच्चों. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, बच्चों. Good morning. (55% in the class. Okay. Class strength 50. Good morning, बच्चों. Good morning. Please let them chat. जरा chat करने देना इनको. They are allowed to chat ना? Good morning, बच्चों. Good morning. Can you write in the chat box? Yes. Now I can feel that. Good morning, and well, you can also hear me. Only then only you are responding, and I can see myself in the TV. That means I am visible. So let us begin. So we had a class day before yesterday, and that day I was on leave. I had some family work, so I was on leave day before yesterday. So we are meeting today now, and we are meeting after the test. So in the test, anyone had any doubt? Some of them have asked me. Some of the replies I have sent by voice, voice message. But one person has given me a question. I replied by the voice message. It seems like the blue tick has not come. That means the person has not seen the answer. Anyway, so if the answer is cleared, okay, then also my point is whether you heard the answer, my reply or not. Well, let us now continue further. We were discussing the skeleton, the skeletal system, the parts of the skeletal system. Okay, starting with how many bones are there in adult human being? How many bones are there in adult human being? 170, good marks. Any marks more than 165 is really good. More than 165, very, very good. 206, very good, 206. How many muscles are there in the human skeleton? How many muscles? How many muscles are there in the muscular system? I really appreciate number 206. Can you write the muscles? Yes. 639, good. 639. Number of muscles are 639. 639. It is Aru Mudu Tumidi. 639. Aru Mudu Tumidi. 206, the number of bones. And at the time of birth, the number of bones are more than 300. Why? Because many bones have not been fused. So we can count them separately. Many of the bones have not been fused. For just an example, now this bone is a frontal, one bone, but at the time of birth, these are as two separate bones. So that's the reason that total number of bones come out to be more than 300 at the time of birth. Well, but so please understand that we can divide the skeletal system into two parts: axial skeleton, appendicular skeleton. Axial skeleton, appendicular skeleton. Very good. Axial, appendicular. Axial skeleton that forms the axis. Axial skeleton that forms the axis. Okay. This is the axial skeleton. Appendicular skeleton are the appendages. You know, appendages means the limbs. The lower limb and the upper limb, they form the appendages. Now, they cannot be hanging in air. So obviously, they have to be connected to the main axis of the body. And they are connected to the main axis with the help of girdles. So these are the two girdles. Girdles at the lower abdomen called the pelvic girdle, pectoral girdle. Pelvic girdle, pectoral. Pectoral girdle connects the upper limb, pelvic girdle connects the lower limb. Skull, vertebral column, ribs and sternum. Okay, so these are the main axis, and then these are the appendages, and these are the girdles. So I'll now tell you, this is appendicular skeleton Orangish is appendicular skeleton and white is your axial skeleton. Orange is appendicular and white is axial. Did we discuss all this? Did we discuss axial and appendicular? How much we have discussed? Okay, so let me now continue. So we are starting with the axial skeleton first. Are you guys with me? We are starting with the axial skeleton. Axial skeleton. Axial skeleton. Axial skeleton. The parts of the axial skeleton are, number one, we have the skull, then vertebral column. Please note down skull, vertebral column. Then we have, after that, we have the sternum and the ribs. Sternum and the ribs, these are the part of the axial skeleton. Axial skeleton. Now I'll start with the skull. Now, skull comprise of three parts. Skull comprise of three parts. We have the cranium, the brain box, the cranium, the face, and associated bones of the skull. The associated with the skull. Now, the numbers of the bone to remember here. The cranium made up of 8 bones, facial bones 14 bones, and 7 bones are your associated bones. 7. Facial bones are 14 and cranial bones are 8. And this comes out to be total 29. Now, it all depends on how the question is put on. If the question is given as the skull comprising of cranium and facial region comprise a total of, then we can say 14 plus 8, 22 bones. Or if a question comes, the total number of bones lying above the vertebral column, lying pinna to the vertebral column, the total number of bones, then 29 is the answer. It all depends the way the question is there. If a simple, very crude question is there, how many bones are the skull bones? And there the options also give 22 and 29. It is the throwing of a dice. You don't know what that teacher has thought. Any educated person should not take such, should not give such a, a controversial question, because children are answering 22 as mentioned in the NCERT book. The number 29 is not mentioned in the NCERT book. So they will write 22 and you are writing 29, and that can be proven as correct because 7 bones are associated with the skull. So in such a question, either the question is very clear, or if a simple question, number of bones in the skull, this is both the answer. So in such a question, ideally, if I am the coordinator, then I will give both the answers. But we don't know what happens. Therefore, my suggestion to all of you, all the students who are preparing for NEET UG, your paper is being made by any person who has not seen the number 29. He or she has just copied the number 22 from the NCERT book, forgetting that if you add 7, it becomes 29. So in that case, if you find 22 and 29 in the option, what you have to go for? 22. At least we can fight for 22, but we cannot fight for 29 because 29 number is not mentioned. But if a question comes, number of bones lying above the cervical vertebrae, then of course 29. Number of hyoid bones, 1. Number of ear ossicles, 6. In such a question, there is no if, no but. But here there can be a, a problem. Cranium. This is the brain box. Cranium. Please remember the step. Please remember the step of cranium. The step of 8. What to remember? The step of 8. For cranium, remember step. You know the step? Step 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. How many steps? Total 8. You know, S stands for sphenoid, T for. I have shared this thing with you. All the Gosalites students, they know they have that PDF or the PPT, any type of file already shared to them in the WhatsApp group, in the Telegram group, in all the social media group where we are connected to each other. I have shared this file where you can see them as the trick. The trick is given. So you can also open that one, and I'm also trying to find it out here, and I'll open it here. Okay. So here we have movement. Now this trick, what I am saying, the skull bones, in the skull bones cranium, step of 8, step of 8, STEPOF. So you can remember the step here, or another way of saying the same thing as pest of cranial bone. Like we say, the pest of this crop, pest of that crop, pest of cranial bone. That's what I'm saying here. Now, bacho, please know S stands for sphenoid, T for temporal, E for ethmoid, P for parietal, O for occipital, F for frontal. Okay, so let us see here. Frontal, occipital, parietal, rundu, parietal, temporal. Now, the base of this tent, that means below the brain, two bones, ethmoid, sphenoid, sphenoid. Ethmoid is a small bone above the nasal cavity. Sphenoid is a big bone. It has got the wings. It is like a butterfly. It is a winged bone, like a butterfly, sphenoid. And you have to remember about this sphenoid is it has got a cavity, and that cavity holds the head of pituitary gland. You know the name of this cavity? What this cavity called? Come on. The name of the cavity which holds the pituitary gland. Pituitary ka bulb. Yes. The cavity. Someone is writing in very fast. Very good. Very good. I appreciate people are saying, writing them as doctors. Very good. Right. No, like write your name as doctor. Whatever your name, like Dr. Santosh, Dr. Adil, Dr. Gopal, Dr. Sabira Reddy. You are doctor. Yes, it is sella turcica, bacho. You are right. Sella turcica. Sella turcica. Which bone? Which bone? Sphenoid bone. Sella turcica. Which bone? Sphenoid bone. It is a big bone, winged bone, look like a butterfly, and it's, the end of the wing can be seen behind the eyeball, eye orbit. Behind the eye orbit, here we can. I'll show you. The part of the sphenoid here. I'll show you. First of all, so please remember frontal, occipital, parietal, temporal, ethmoid, sphenoid. Sphenoid, one question, that is the sella turcica. Occipital bone, two questions. It has got a largest foramen of the skull. The largest foramen of the skull called foramen magnum. Foramen magnum. Largest foramen of the skull called foramen magnum. Foramen magnum. Foramen magnum. Foramen means an aperture, a hole, an aperture. Magnum. Magnum means mega, big size. Big size. Foramen. Foramen means a hole, a randrum, okay? An aperture, a hole. And I'm saying to you that foramen magnum is the largest foramen only of the skull. So remember, it is the largest of skull, only skull, not of the entire skeleton, largest of skull, foramen magnum. And this is in the occipital bone. Occipital bone. Okay. Another thing in the occipital bone are the two raised surfaces, the two oval shaped raised surfaces, and these are called occipital condyles. Occipital condyles. So there is a randrum here, the foramen and occipital condyles like this. And with the help of occipital condyle, condyle means a raised structure, raised, and it is an oval shaped occipital condyle, and with the help of occipital condyle it is attached to the first cervical vertebra. The cervical vertebra, first cervical vertebra is called Atlas. Atlas, on the Greek mythology, where the Atlas holds the earth in his two hands. You have seen any Greek, any architecture, picture of an architecture where the person, a very well-built man, is holding the earth in his hands. So that man is called Atlas. And so the first cervical vertebra is equivalent to the Atlas. And this is equivalent to our, this skull, equivalent to the earth. I hope you understand. So the Atlas, two hands of Atlas joins with the two occipital condyles. So skull having two occipital condyles are called dicondylic skull. Mammals have dicondylic skull. Mammals, dicondylic. Amphibians, dicondylic. Mammals, dicondylic. Amphibians, dicondylic. Generally, they ask about the man and the frog. Man ka skull dicondylic, frog ka skull dicondylic. Di means two, and condyle are the articular surfaces. Now, bacho, I will tell you this word meaning articular. Okay, so the word is articulation. One word is articulation. Okay, articulation means a joint. Articulation, joint. Then the word articular. Articular means related to joint. It means related to joint. Joint se sambandhit, related to joint, articular. And then articulates or articulate. Articulate matlab join. Verb. This is a verb. Articulate matlab join. Articulate with this, articulate with that. Articulate matlab join, articulate. I hope it is clear, bachcho. So how we use this word, in case of any doubt, you can replace the word with joint. Like articulation, you can replace the word with joint. Suppose if they say the superior articular facet, okay, the superior joint wala facet, a word facet, a small surface, a small face, a small surface. That is a facet, okay? Surface, a flat surface, facet. I hope you understand. Dicondylic skull, okay? Dicondylic skull, and the two occipital condyles are there in the occipital bone. So two bones are important here. One is sphenoid bone because sella turcica is there in the sphenoid bone. Another bone is the occipital bone because of the randrum called the foramen magnum, and another one is the occipital condyles. Okay, bacho? Till here, all points are clear. I believe it is all simple. Okay. After that, let us talk about in In the cranial bones, that is enough. Let us come to the facial bones. But one question is still left. My question was, how many bones in the cranium are paired? The number of paired cranial bones. How many bones in the cranium are paired? And the answer is 2. 2 bones are paired. What are those paired bones? Paired bones are temporal parietal. Temporal parietal. The paired bones are temporal parietal. Let's come to the face. In the face region, just remember that the total number of bones that make the face are 14. Face 14. Okay, bachcho? Face is made up of 14 bones. Out of the 14 bones, please remember that 2 bones are unpaired. Out of total 14, 2 are unpaired. 2 are unpaired. Can you tell me the unpaired bones? Let us see who all can tell me the unpaired bones. Unpaired bones of the face. You just now told in the cranium, you just now told about the cranium. I asked you the number and names of paired bones. Okay, so you said 2, 1 and 2, and you have given me the name. What are the name? Temporal parietal. My question is number and name of the facial bones out of all the facial bones which are 14. Tell me the number and name of unpaired. And I tell you the number first, 1 and 2. Please tell me the names only. I'm telling you the number. Here 2 are paired. 2 are paired. And here 2 are unpaired. In the face, 2 are unpaired. In the cranium, 2 are paired. हाँ जी बच्चों. Vomer, lower jaw. Vomer, lower jaw. Very good. Vomer, lower jaw. Perfect answer. Bachcho, answer is vomer and lower jaw. What is another name of lower jaw? Mandible. Mandible. This is mandible. Mandible, lower jaw, vomer. Now here we cannot say the vomer. It is inside the nasal cavity. It is better to learn it because in the diagram we cannot show the vomer. But other bones, somewhat. The important bones of the face are zygomatic, also called cheekbone. Cheekbone, zygomatic, cheekbone. Then upper jaw, maxillae. How many maxillae? 2. The name I am saying maxillae. Maxilla is 1, maxillae 2. We have 2 maxilla. Upper jaw ki bone 2 hai, lower jaw ki bone 1. And my spectacle is resting on nasal. My spectacle is resting on nasal. How many nasal we have? Come on. Give your answer. How many nasal bones we have? Don't check. Just 2. Very good. You are right. 2. Nasal bones. Bachcho, all bones are 2 except mandible and vomer. Except mandible and vomer, all other bones are double only. Very good. Nasal bones are 2. Very good. Nasal bones are 2. Nasal bones 2. Maxilla 2. Mandible 1. Vomer 1. Zygomatic 2. Palatine 2. Inferior turbinate 2. All other 2. No need lacrimal. No need. In case of any doubt, you can just answer lacrimal 2. Lacrimal 2. Now, please identify these bones, bachcho. I know you can identify all of them. The problem happens only in the 3 bones. Number 1 is sphenoid, number 2 is ethmoid, and number 3 is lacrimal. Now, you can see this one, the one close to the outside, or I tell you the very easy way or a very crude way. The smaller one is lacrimal, the bigger one is ethmoid. Smaller one lacrimal, bigger one ethmoid. And this is the sphenoid. 1, 2, 3. My suggestion is these three bones are important. However, you should practice on all the bones. Okay. So I have in the pen drive, I mean in the file which I have shared, this diagram, and all the labelings are there. Even if you don't write, you can just remember all of them, starting from frontal and like that, going to the sphenoid and all those, and take a projection. No, this one is hyoid, and this is occipital bone, and these are occipital condyles. Occipital condyles. What still I think, so these are the answers. What still I think remains a doubt are these three, A, B, C. So for most of you, you have to actually focus on these three, A, B, C. Or all the other one you can easily identify from the way it is labeled. They may give you anyone, but these three can pose some trouble. Number one is sphenoid, number two is ethmoid, and number three is lacrimal. And I said lacrimal, so because it is close to the face, it is a facial bone. It is close to the face. Lacrimal. Another way, the inside the eye orbit, inside the eye socket, the smaller label is the lacrimal, and the bigger one is ethmoid. Lacrimal. B is ethmoid. C lacrimal. A is sphenoid. All other you can easily identify. Well, this is all about the skull. Skull के bone हो गए total bone. I20. Now this is a hyoid bone. All the tongue muscles are attached to hyoid bone. Tongue muscles are attached to hyoid bone. Tongue muscles are attached to hyoid bone. Please don't ever think wrong that tongue muscle are visceral muscles. No, they are skeletal. And of course, the only difference is generally muscles have two attachment, origin, insertion, two ends. Tongue muscles are the only muscle which have a single attachment. They are attached only at the back, but they are attached to the maximum to the hyoid bone. Therefore, hyoid bone can also be called the tongue bone because of that. And my dear bachcho, this is all about this portion of the preparation. Let us now talk about the other part of exoskeleton, which is the vertebral column. Now, vertebral column, total number of bones are 26. How many? 26. Total bones are 26. The different part of the vertebral column, different segments of the vertebral column are cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, coccygeal. Different segments are cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, coccygeal. My dear bachcho, do you think that we are, like chordates are segmented? Yes, chordates are segmented. We are chordates. So therefore, we are segmented. And this is one example from where we are segmented. We are segmented. You can see the vertebral column. We have different segments. You can see the ribs. They represent different segments. Of course, right now we don't have knowledge about the nerves. We don't have the other knowledge of the dermatome, the skin. But this already we have an idea that we have got cervical region, thoracic region. This shows we are segmented animals. All chordates are segmented. The three phyla which are segmented: Annelida, Arthropoda, Chordata. Annelida segmented, Arthropoda segmented, Chordata segmented. And my dear bachcho, all three of them are metamerically segmented. To the best of my knowledge, even today, I don't find any difference in metameric segmentation or true segmentation. True segmentation is the same as metameric segmentation. And we all three phylum are examples of metamerically segmented. And each segment is called metamere. Well, bachcho, coming back to this chapter, cervical segment, how many cervical vertebrae? do we have? Cervical vertebrae do we have? 7. We have 7. How many dog has? 7. Cat 7. Man 7. Women 7. Elephant 7. Mouse 7. Goat 7. Giraffe 7. Except few aquatic mammals, all mammals have 7 cervical vertebrae. Except few aquatic mammals, all mammals have 7 cervical vertebrae. Done? ठीक है बच्चों, तो ये हो गया अपने cervical vertebrae. If a question statement comes, all mammals have 7, wrong. Most mammals have 7, absolutely correct. But giraffe 7, yes. I'm saying if at all any exceptions are aquatic. And remember, in NEET UG level, they will not give you exception. If they ask you number of cervical vertebrae in any animal, answer will be 7 because it is a mammalian character. Thoracic vertebrae. Thoracic vertebrae are 12 in number. And what is important about the thoracic vertebrae? The importance about the thoracic vertebrae is that it gives attachment to the ribs. We have 12 pairs of ribs. And all the ribs dorsally matlab back side. All the ribs dorsally are attached to the thoracic vertebrae. How many thoracic vertebrae? 12. How many ribs? 12 pairs. And all ribs are attached dorsally to the thoracic vertebrae. In fact, one rib to 2 vertebrae. Yes, half up, half down. Half up, half down. In fact, 2 vertebrae. You got this point? I will show you in bicephalic nature of the ribs. But please understand, ribs mean 12 pairs of ribs and thoracic vertebrae 12. Lumbar vertebrae 5. Sacral vertebrae 5, but sacrum, the bone, 1. Coccygeal vertebrae 4, but coccyx, the bone, 1. Coccyx, the bone, 1. Sacrum, the bone, 1. And cervical 7, 12, 5. The largest of them, lumbar. The largest of them, lumbar. Lumbar vertebra, largest vertebra. You can clearly see the lumbar vertebra. So large are the lumbar vertebra, largest vertebra. What else? What else? Vestigial vertebra. Vestigial vertebra. Come on. I just now gave the answer. Sorry. But still, let us see vestigial vertebra. Coccyx, very good. Pavitran, very good. Sunny, very good. Pavitran, Sunny, and others. Coccyx, it is a tailbone. Yes, tailbone. Lasyamani. Okay, tailbone. And tailbone is a vestigial bone. And this is a vestigial vertebra. Well, bachcho, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, and coccygeal. But the coccyx is one bone and sacrum is one bone. To write the vertebral formula, how to write the vertebral formula? Please use the NCERT way of writing, not my way, not someone else's way, only one way, NCERT way. And this is the NCERT way. I know it is little laughable, but this is what we have to learn. So C7, T12, L5, till here no problem. And then comes S1, 1 in bracket, to show it is fused. C1, 1 in bracket, to show it is fused. Okay? So like this, beta, like this. Sad, but true. Learn like this. I know it is not correct. If it is 1, then why to put it in bracket? You should have put in bracket when they are more than 1, and you want to show that count them as one bone. Then you should write. But one in bracket and then one, this is, I don't know what type of authors write this NCERT book and what type of people correct this NCERT book. Very, very shameful as an Indian. We have written several times to them. We have used all parliamentary language, even unparliamentary language like shameful and all, to the authors ki bhaiya correct kar lo. We have given them the references, but unke kaan mein juu nahi rehta hai, right? Because when we are abusing or when we are saying that you are the one, bole kaun? Main nahi, I didn't write. Who wrote? Oh, so 10 years back, that person wrote, he is not here in the department. Because of lack of accountability, this happens. Please learn like this. This is called vertebral formula. Vertebral formula. After that, let us talk about the ribs. In the ribs, I was telling you, we have 12 pairs of ribs. Each rib has got two parts, the bony part and the cartilaginous part. Please understand, बच्चों, the rib does not get over here. Rib यहाँ पे खत्म नहीं होती है. So this is up till here is a bony part of rib. In fact, from here begins the cartilaginous part of rib. So this one is the cartilaginous part. This is the cartilage of the rib, also called costal cartilage. Costa, the word costa means related to ribs. Costa, related to ribs. Costal, related to ribs. Costal cartilage, the cartilage of the ribs. This is costal cartilage. You can see that the first 7 ribs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, they're attached to the sternum directly. Their costal cartilage attached to the sternum directly. Very clearly you can see in this colorful picture, you can very clearly see that the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now 7th one is coming and then joining here directly. Now this is the costal cartilage of the 7th and attached to the sternum directly. The 8th, 9th and 10th, they take the help of 7th. They say that, bro, we can only come to you and with you or through you, we are connected to the sternum, but not directly to the sternum, but only to the costal cartilage of the 7th rib. Costal cartilage of 7th. Which one? 8, 9, 10. 8, 9, 10. These 3. 8, 9, 10. These 3. And these 2, 11 and 12. 11 and 12. You can see they are free. They don't attach anteriorly. Ventrally, they don't attach. And these are called the floating ribs. So accordingly, we have got 3 ribs. 3 types of ribs. Accordingly, we have got 3 types of ribs. The first 7 pairs of ribs. They are attached to the sternum directly. We can call them vertebrosternal ribs. Vertebrosternal ribs. First 7 pairs, vertebrosternal ribs. They're attached to the sternum directly. Then 8th to 10th, 8th, 9th, 10th. These 3 pairs, they're attached to the costal cartilage of the 7th rib. What we can call them? Vertebrochondral. What is the meaning of chondro? Chondro means cartilage. And bacha, 11th and 12th are only vertebral ribs. Vertebral ribs means they are not attached to the sternum. They are not attached to sternum. They are only attached dorsally, not to ventrally. So vertebrosternal, vertebrochondral, and simply vertebral. Chondro means cartilage. Now, the first 7 pairs or vertebrosternal, we can also call them true ribs. Now, the vertebrochondral can be called the false ribs, and vertebral ribs are the floating ribs. Floating. True, false, floating. True, false, floating. 1 to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. First 7 pairs, 8th, 9th, and 10th pair, and 11th and 12th pair. Please remember classification of the ribs. Each rib is a flat, thin, flat bone, thin, flat bone. Each rib is a thin, flat bone, and it is attached dorsally. It is attached dorsally to the thoracic vertebra. Remember, in this front side, you can only see their ventral attachment. To see their dorsal attachment, we have to go back and see how they're attached dorsally. I think this is clear to everyone. This is simple. This is clear. It's simple. This is clear. Done. Done. Okay, let us go in front. 1 to 7, true. False, floating. What is this? Costal cartilage. This is sternum. Now, this is a thin, flat bone, also called rib. This is the dorsal end. The dorsal end has got two articular facets. Two articular facets in two directions. You can see this articular facet, this articular facet. How many facets? Two facets. And each has importance. With each of them, they can attach to one thoracic vertebra. Now, with this one, if it attached to T1, with this one, it attached to T2. For example, in this picture, you can see this is a rib. So this is thoracic vertebra, T1, and suppose this is T2. So this rib is attached partly to the T1 and partly to T2. Simple. Okay, you understand? It is attached to both. That means we can say that it has got two heads. It has got two heads. Head matlab, it begins from this also, this also. It has got two heads. It is called bicephalic. Bicephalic. Human rib is bicephalic. Human rib, bicephalic. Bicephalic. Clear? Simple? Bicephalic. Can you see this one? Bicephalic. Because of this, we can say it is bicephalic. Assertion reason. Check the language of the NCERT for assertion reason question. The same language can be given when this is called bicephalic, and the reason given there can be given as a reason, and the answer can be given as explaining or not explaining, like that. Please understand, bicephalic. 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 My dear bacho, okay, you can also see, this one. In this picture, you can see that vertebro, this one. This is costovertebral. Costovertebral joint. Costovertebral joint. That means costa means ribs, vertebro means vertebral, costovertebral joint, and you can see bacho this one. I want you to see this one. You can see this one and this one. Now this is attached to this also. This is attached to this also. Do head ho gaye. It is bicephalic. Bi means two, cephalo means head. Bi means two, cephalo means head. Bi means two, double-headed. Our ribs can be called double-headed. Bicephalic, double-headed. Okay, bachcho, I think I've explained you nicely. You should never forget why we call them bicephalic. And look for the language of the NCERT for assertion reason question. So from the ribs, we go to the sternum. Sternum, ribs, vertebral column, and the skull. This completes your axial skeleton. Let us begin with your appendicular skeleton. Appendicular skeleton. Are you guys with me? Appendicular skeleton. Let us begin. What about axis and atlas. Beta, axis and atlas. Atlas is the first cervical vertebra. Axis is the second cervical vertebra. We will require their information when we talk about the joint between the atlas and the occipital bone and atlas and the axis. And I told you already why we call it axis, because the second cervical vertebra becomes the axis of rotation. The whole skull, if I'm moving my head both the sides, that means not only my skull but also my first cervical vertebra. Not only my skull, but my first cervical vertebra, this complete one is rotating on the second cervical vertebra. So second cervical vertebra has become the axis of rotation, and therefore the name axis, it becomes the axis of rotation. Okay, bachcho, now let us talk about appendicular skeleton. Now, appendages are upper limb and lower limb, forelimb, hind limb, attached to the axial skeleton by the girdles. We have two girdles. One is pectoral girdle. In this picture, you can somewhat see the pectoral girdle. This is the scapula, and this is clavicle. Okay, scapula, clavicle. This is lateral end of the clavicle, lateral end of clavicle. Okay, bachcho. So I am discussing with you the appendicular skeleton. I have started with discussing with you the girdle, the pectoral girdle. The meaning of pectoral means chest. The girdle matlab anything round belt, girdle, round belt called girdle. So we have got one girdle. Remember, this belt is not made up of leather or resin. The belt is made up of bone. So these are bony girdle. One girdle here called pectoral girdle, and one here called pelvic girdle. What is pelvis? The lower end of the abdomen. The lower abdomen is called pelvis, because the meaning of pelvis is basin. So the lower abdomen look like a basin for the organ, and therefore that region is called pelvis, and the girdle of the pelvis is called pelvic girdle, and the pectoral means chest. So the girdle of the chest is called pectoral girdle. Now pectoral girdle is made up of 4 bones, pelvic girdle 2 bones, total bones of the girdle 6, 4 pectoral, 2 pelvic, 4 pectoral. Now please understand, each half of the pectoral girdle is made up of 1 clavicle, 1 scapula, clavicle, scapula, another half clavicle, scapula. Now the clavicle don't join, but the clavicle join to a single bone called sternum, single bone sternum. So in a way this is closed, but in this way this is open. So this is the open girdle, and it is open dorsally, not ventrally. Ventrally closed, open dorsally. Are you guys with me? So this is clavicle, scapula. Clear? Clavicle, it is the only long bone which lie horizontal. Only long bone which lie horizontal. All the long bones are vertical. Only long bone lie horizontal is the clavicle. Please remember, never forget, this is a long bone with 2 curvatures. The bone with 2 curvatures, convex, concave. The bone with 2 curvatures, convex, concave, 2 curvatures. Please understand, the clavicle or the collarbone has one end which is towards the midline called medial end, and one end towards the away from the midline called the lateral end. So we have got medial end, lateral end, medial end, lateral end, Malli. Clavicle, this is clavicle, this end is the medial end, this end is the lateral end, medial end, lateral end. Medial means towards the midline. Lateral means away from the midline. The medial end is attached to sternum and the lateral end is attached to scapula. Lateral end to scapula. Which part of scapula? Learn it. Acromion of scapula. Which part? Acromion of scapula. Lateral end, acromion of scapula. Medial end to the sternum. Two ends, okay? Done. So two questions here, medial end to sternum, lateral end to scapula. The bone with two curvatures, that's it. And of course, it's the only long bone that lie horizontal, clavicle, collarbone, beauty bone. In some European cultures, in Western world, a woman with very prominent clavicle is supposed to be beautiful. Not in countries like India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. In countries like us, a woman with very prominent clavicle is thought to be malnourished. My mom thinks she is malnourished. She starts feeding her. गड्ढे दिख रहे हो यहाँ पर बताओ गड्ढे गड्ढे दिख रहे हो बोले यार ये क्या so this is regional cultural that is their culture they have not seen any malnourishment they have only seen overnourishment not undernourishment we have somehow come out of being malnourished undernourished and now these countries are somehow picking up the pace anyways bachcho coming back to the skeleton scapula, clavicle upon the scapula. Scapula also called shoulder blade. It's a flat triangular bone. Flat triangular bone. When you see the scapula dorsally, I have a picture here. You can clearly see. So clavicle is clearly seen here. I'll take you to the scapula and scapula. Here is the scapula. So the dorsal end of the scapula, dorsally. Now we are seeing from the back side. So this is the dorsal surface. You can see this ridge, this slight elevation, slight ridge. This is called spine of scapula. ये क्या है बेटा? Spine of scapula. ये scapula की spine है. और this extended version, so that we can say the spine of scapula projects outwards. The spine of scapula projects outwards, become wide, thin and wide. It becomes flat and wide, flat and wide. Projects out, become flat and wide, and this is called acromion. Spine projects outwards, become flat and wide, and is called acromion. Acromion. To this acromion attaches the clavicle. Clavicle is attached to the acromion. Clavicle attached to the acromion. Bachcho, this is about so two questions are clear. Number one, what is the spine of the scapula? One should know. Number two, the acromion of the scapula. Question number two. And the third question about scapula is, under the acromion is a oval cavity. There is an oval cavity under the acromion, and that is called the glenoid cavity. That is called glenoid cavity. Which cavity? Glenoid cavity. Glenoid. Glenoid. Head of humerus joins with the glenoid cavity. Joins with the glenoid cavity to form the shoulder joint. The head of humerus joins with the glenoid cavity to form the shoulder joint. Okay, so here you can see, where is the glenoid cavity? Here comes the glenoid cavity. The head of the femur joins with the glenoid cavity. Head of the femur joins with the glenoid cavity to form the shoulder joint. Yeah. This is spine. This is acromion. Acromion. you can see the clavicle, the lateral end of clavicle attaches to the acromion. Okay, this is done. Now, this is cavity is called glenoid. The head of humerus, articulates with the glenoid cavity, articulates or joins with the glenoid cavity to form the shoulder joint. To form the shoulder joint. Glenohumeral joint. This one is glenohumeral joint or shoulder joint. So 3 questions here. Question number 1, question number 2, and question number 3. That's it. Clavicle. This is the lateral end of clavicle. Medial end to the sternum. Bone with 2 curvatures. Total number of bones in the pectoral girdle are 4. बच्चों, hope you are clear with this. If I give 5 shout out or 5 thumbs up, that means we can also do the girdle of the pelvis. Okay, ball is in your court. ये फुल है नहीं मतलब वो प्रॉब्लम. Can you check now, please, guys? Can you check? Coming now? Okay. Good. उसका बैटरी कम था. उसका बैटरी ओके. जस्ट कॉल वन नंबर. कॉल बाबू. Questions on pelvic girdle. Pelvic girdle, two bones called the hip bones. Hip bones, also known as coxal bones. Two hip bones, two coxal bones. Each coxal bone या each hip bone is made up of three parts. You know the three parts? The largest of them is ilium. Ilium or ILEUM. Two options are there with you. ILEUM, ILEUM. Are both the spellings are correct? The pioneer one, kinda one. You can tell me. Ilium. Then the second one is ischium. And the third one is pubis. Ilium, ischium, pubis. Ilium, ischium, pubis. So the first one is correct. Very good. The first one is correct. Ilium. This one is correct. Ilium, ILIUM, right? Ilium, ischium and pubis, three parts. ठीक है बच्चों, ये वाली बात क्लियर हो गई. ठीक है. Now, ilium is the largest of the three. The largest of the three is the ilium. Then, ilium of the bone joins with the sacrum. It joins with the sacrum at a fibrous joint called sacroiliac. Sacroiliac joint. Sacroiliac. That means between sacrum and the ilium, sacroiliac joint. Okay, bachcho, sacroiliac. Ilium is the largest of the three portions. The point of fusion of the three bones, the point of fusion of the three bones, where the three bones are fusing, that is known as that is called I'll just rotate a little, this one, the point of fusion, there is a cavity there, and that cavity is called acetabulum.
Carlo.
My phone. Carlo. ठीक है. हाँ. Acetabulum. Okay, bachcho. What you are adding? You have to delete so many messages. Sacroiliac joint, then ilium, ischium, pubis, the point of fusion, that is called the acetabulum. Bachcho, please remember, to the acetabulum, the head of femur joints. The head of femur joints here to form your hip joint. The head of femur joints to form the hip joint at acetabulum. Clear? Okay. So, what is there in the pectoral girdle, the glenoid cavity, is acetabulum in the pelvic girdle. To the glenoid cavity joins the head of humerus. To the glenoid cavity joins the head of femur. Glenohumeral joint is the shoulder joint. Acetabulo-femoral joint is the hip joint. Okay, glenoid cavity, acetabulum. Glenoid cavity, acetabulum. Head of humerus, head of femur. Head of humerus, head of femur. Shoulder joint, hip joint. So these are the questions that can be asked. Please remember that the point of fusion of the three bones, acetabulum, okay? Well, after this girdle, we'll continue from here. I'll complete this class by showing you the acetabulum and the point of fusion of the three bones. And believe me, this is an important question. This is an important question about the acetabulum. You can Google it, you can see the three parts, okay, you can Google it later on. I can just remind the questions that can be asked. I can just remind you the question. Let me see if I'm having a picture, I'll show you in my, my file. Yeah, this one. Ilium, ischium, pubis. Ilium, sacroiliac joint, pubis. The pubis of both the bones join at this cartilaginous joint called pubic symphysis. The meaning of symphysis means cartilaginous joint, and this is at the pubic region, therefore called pubic symphysis. This is acetabulum. You can see it is more deep as compared to the glenoid cavity. You can see some part is yellow, some part is peach, some part is violet. We can understand that it is made by three bones, all the three bones. And this is the largest foramen. This is the largest foramen of the whole skeleton. The largest foramen. Remember, foramen magnum is the largest foramen only of the skull. Largest of the skull. Whereas this foramen is the largest foramen of the whole skeleton. Can any one of you write in the chat box? Can any one of you write in the chat box which is that foramen? The foramen, which is that foramen? Obturator, very good. That is called obturator foramen. Whether this will be asked in the examination, no. Then why we are supposed to know that? We should be able to know anything, these options, so that we can eliminate other options. For elimination, we should know these names. Obturator foramen, Pavitran, Vinaya, Priya, very good. Obturator foramen. With this class is over, bacho. We have completed the axial skeleton and the two girdles. We have to start with the limbs and we have to do the joints. But before that, my point here is, I just want to tell you about the vertebra. Each vertebra has got one centrum, the main body called centrum, and one foramen there, and the foramen is called neural foramen. Which one? Neural foramen. And the neural foramen of each of the vertebra, when they are piled up one over the other, the neural foramen give rise to a canal called neural canal. The neural foramen give rise to a canal called neural canal. Chudu. Now this is the vertebra. This is the front, this is the back. Ventral, dorsal. These are transverse, lateral. This is the main body, centrum. This is the neural foramen, and this is the spinous process at the back. Okay, done. Now, when you keep them one over the other, pile up one over the other, all these foramen, they become a canal called neural canal. So here is a canal called neural canal, and inside the neural canal, you will find the spinal cord. You can see this one. So the two vertebral body, this is the cartilage called intervertebral disc. Intervertebral disc, it is a fibrocartilage. And this is the spinal cord, and these are the spinal nerves. Please remember, human beings, we have 31 pairs of spinal nerves, 31 pairs of spinal nerves, and 12 pairs of cranial nerves. Now you can see this complete canal is called the neural canal, and inside the neural canal lies your spinal cord. So the cranium supports the brain box, protect the brain box, and the vertebral column protect the spinal cord. And this canal is called the neural canal. You will find this word neural canal in your textbook. Please read word by word, line by line, many times, till you almost digest and start seeing the sentences in front of you. Well, we'll meet on the next turn. God bless. Bye-bye. Take care. Today anything special? No. Eggshell, skeleton, nothing. Already you have those I have shared already with you. Take a bit.